Paris. 1925. A man in a silk suit smooths a government letter across a hotel table. 5 businessmen lean in close, and he is about to sell them something that does not belong to him. Something nobody could ever own. The Eiffel Tower. 7,000 tons of iron towering over the city, and this man, calm and smiling, is selling it for scrap. To understand how, we have to go back. His name was Victor Lustig. Born in a small Bohemian town, he was clever in the way that becomes dangerous when there is nothing honest to point it at. By 20, he spoke 5 languages. By 25, he had robbed people on 3 continents. He worked the great ocean liners crossing the Atlantic. Rich passengers, long, boring days, and a charming stranger with a small wooden box. He called it a money machine. He swore the box could copy a $100 bill. He would feed one in, turn a crank, and hours later, 2 crisp bills slid out. It was a trick, of course. But greed makes people patient, and patient people pay. He sold those boxes for thousands. By the time the buyers realized the magic had stopped, Lustig was a country away, counting their money. But the box was small. Lustig wanted something bigger. He just did not know what yet. Then, one spring morning in Paris, he opened a newspaper, and the answer was printed right there on the page. The article complained about the Eiffel Tower. It was rusting. It was expensive to repaint. Some said the city could not afford to keep it standing much longer. To most readers, it was a dull civic problem. To Lustig, it was an invitation. If the tower might be torn down, then someone, somewhere, would have to buy 7,000 tons of scrap iron, and whoever controlled that sale would control a fortune. So Lustig decided to become that man. On paper, he had stationery printed for the Ministry of Posts and Telegraphs. He gave himself a grand title, Deputy Director General. Then he booked the finest suite in the Hotel de Crillon and invited 6 of the city's biggest scrap metal dealers to a private meeting. The letters were marked confidential. That single word did half the work for him. Secrecy makes a lie feel important. It tells the listener that they have been chosen. In the suite, Lustig was magnificent. He spoke of the rising cost of repairs, the public complaints, the painful decision the government had reached. The Eiffel Tower, he told them, would be quietly demolished and sold as scrap. And the city wanted it kept secret, he explained, to avoid public outrage. The dealers nodded. It made sense. Of course, Paris would not want the world to know it was scrapping its most famous landmark. He invited them to submit bids. But Lustig was not really watching their offers. He was watching their faces. And one face told him everything. A man named André Poisson. Poisson was new money, an outsider, desperate to be respected by the old Paris elite. Lustig could smell that hunger. An insecure man, he knew, will pay almost anything to feel like he finally belongs. So Lustig chose him. He took Poisson aside, just the 2 of them, and confided that the winning bid would be his. Poisson was thrilled. And that is when Lustig played his masterstroke, the move that turned a good lie into a perfect one. Lustig lowered his voice and confessed a problem. His government salary was small, the job was demanding, and a man in his position, well, he sometimes expected a little something extra to make a deal go smoothly. He asked Poisson for a bribe, and strangely, that request was the thing that erased every doubt. Because a corrupt official is a real official. Honest men do not ask for kickbacks. Only true bureaucrats do. The bribe made the whole thing believable, so Poisson paid twice, once for the Eiffel Tower itself, and once more, quietly, to bribe the very official who was robbing him. He walked out of that hotel certain he had just made the deal of his life. Lustig did not wait around. He packed a suitcase heavy with cash and boarded the next train to Vienna. From his compartment window, he watched Paris shrink away, and he waited for the storm. The arrest, the headlines, the scandal. But the storm never came, because André Poisson was too ashamed to report it. To go to the police meant admitting that he, a serious businessman, had been fooled into buying a national monument. His pride was worth more than his money, so he said nothing. Weeks passed. Lustig read every paper he could find. Not a single word, no warrant, no mention, and slowly an astonishing thought formed in his mind. If no one had reported the crime, then perhaps he could simply do it again. So he returned to Paris, new hotel, new group of scrap dealers, the same forged papers, the same confidential meeting, the same magnificent performance. He sold the Eiffel Tower a second time. But this time, one of the buyers grew suspicious before the money changed hands. He went to the police. Lustig sensed it just in time, slipped out of the city and vanished once more. He was never charged for selling Paris its own most famous landmark. Lustig kept running cons for years. He once tricked the gangster Al Capone out of money and somehow walked away alive. He printed counterfeit bills so good they alarmed the United States government itself. But every con runs out of road. He was finally caught, not for the tower, but for his counterfeit money. He even escaped from jail once, climbing down a rope of bed sheets. They caught him again. He died in prison in 1947. On his prison death certificate, under occupation, someone wrote two simple words: apprentice salesman. The man who sold the Eiffel Tower twice, remembered by the paperwork as a salesman still learning his trade. Lustig never stole the tower. He stole something easier, the certainty of clever men who believed they were too smart to be fooled. I am Wisp. If this story kept you here to the end, stay a while. There are darker tales still waiting in the dark. Before you go, if you made it all the way here, you're my kind of person. So do 3 small things for me. Subscribe so the next story finds you. Leave a like if this one earned it. And in the comments, tell me what Wisp should dig up next. A betrayal, a vanishing, a perfect crime that almost worked. I read every single one. Until then, stay curious and stay in the dark.